Xbox had a showcase, and I waited quite a few days to talk about it, and I'm glad that I did because they had another sort of mini deep dive into Avowed. So I got a little bit more information, a little bit extra gameplay snippets of that particular game. So we're going to talk about their show and what I thought about it. There were 3 games to me that were really part of the show. The other one was PC only, which was a bit strange having just a PC game at the event, not coming to the Xbox console. And every time I hear PC and gaming, I tune out. And especially when I hear PC gaming and strategy simulation game like Age of Empires, just not interested in it. If you are, great. I'm not going to talk about that here. Let's start off with Avowed. I thought Avowed looked good. I don't think it looks great. I wouldn't say it's, screaming AAA or pushing the Xbox Series X to the limits. But it's Obsidian. It looks to be in the style of Outer Worlds, and it follows the similar trends of their past RPGs. I thought that it was interesting that they showed different biomes. They talked about that specifically, and I think that's important in an RPG. I like the idea of exploring different environments. I get so bored when we have these same sort of environments, and I just don't understand that in a role-playing game. And I'm kudos to them for pushing it and giving you different places to explore. I do like the art style. I was going to say love and like at the same time, so I did the l. I do really like the art style. It was interesting. The main issue I had with it, though, is that the combat looked a little bit clunky to me. So, like the sword didn't really hit the lizard, whatever those lizard things were. It seemed to be just sort of glancing off of them, and then the blood splattered. It didn't really look like you were making contact, and it didn't have that sort of visceral feeling that you have when you hit something. And I was looking for that in that game. But it's early. Maybe they'll patch it. Maybe they'll fix it. It's still very early, so I don't want to judge it. But I do feel like it's a step towards something that was very interesting to me to play, and I'm definitely going to check it out. I love the idea of the fantasy-esque setting, like I said before, and the second sort of mini deep dive that they gave a few days later showed you swimming underwater and then discovering this cavern, and they talked about the idea of there's many things to discover in the world if you want to discover them, if you search for them, and I love that idea. I love getting lost in a world. So ultimately, I think it looks pretty good. I'm interested in it, and I obviously need to see more gameplay. Next up, we're going to talk about Hellblade 2, and this one was the one that shocked me the most because I went into this for a long time, like many people, thinking that Hellblade 2 was going to be elevated to the next level. It's got a number 2 after it. So there's a first game and then there's a sequel. And usually in a sequel, you sort of build everything out and you expand it and you make the world bigger. You give the character a different moveset. You allow the character to maybe jump, climb, swim. The combat is fleshed out more. It doesn't look like we're going to get any of that. It looks like it's just a continuation of the same formula from Hellblade 1, but with better graphics and maybe more immersive environments and motion capture and lip sync and stuff like that. And I feel like you get to the point where, okay, if you're making a movie, make a movie. If you're making a game, make a game. If you want to make a combination of the two, you've got to lean more into the gameplay section than you do the cinematic section. And I didn't see enough that screamed this gameplay is going to be evolved from the first game. For instance, every time I've seen Senua fight, every time they've showed it, the camera sort of like fades out. It's black around you. You don't really see anything but you and the enemy. And I thought we would get like more of an open world style fighting, like maybe multiple encounters, multiple enemies around you, different movesets. So I'm not sure if all of the combat is just you and one other person, and then the environment sort of grays out, and it's just this sort of, I don't know what was going on. Maybe she's just hyper focused in on the enemy. But if that's all there is, then I'm still going to play it. It's still one of those games that looks really good graphically, but graphics does not carry a game. You have to have gameplay that's evolved. And I'm a little bit worried now when I see multiple, they show this game multiple times, and I just don't see enough gameplay-wise from the first to the second. And they made a point of saying it's the same short experience. The developer actually stress the word short. And I'm like, okay, you're really making sure to set these expectations. And it's weird going into the show. All these years, I thought Hellblade 2 was going to be the game. And now it's kind of like the third game after the first two that they showed. And still excited about it. Still looks fantastic. Ninja Theory. But I was hoping for a little bit more in terms of expanding the game in a sequel, because that's what you do in a sequel. You make the game, bigger, and you make the game better. You don't just make it prettier looking. And again, I'm not saying that's all there is to this game. That's just all I've seen over the course of these years, and pictures of like mountains and vacation spots, and I don't know what that's all about. But, I'm being cautiously optimistic with this one, and I didn't expect to be that. I expected to be blown away in terms of the environment and the traversal mechanic being changed a bit, and the fighting style, multiple enemies, and I haven't seen any of that yet. But I'm not saying it's going to be a bad game, obviously. It's Ninja Theory. Obviously, it looks fantastic, and if you're into just, playing a cinematic experience, going to be probably one of the best. Next up was Indiana Jones, and this one was the one that kind of stole the show for me. So it's Indiana Jones, Avowed, and then Hellblade, which is strange. But Indiana Jones looked good. First person, there's kind of like a first person push when it comes to Microsoft first party now. First person, I'm still not sold on first person. I get the idea of seeing through Indy's eyes, which they kept saying over and over and over again. And I like the idea of pulling the camera back and going to third person like they did like was done in Chronicles of Riddick, Escape from Butcher Bay. That was really great. But I'm not sure how it's going to work if I'm Indiana Jones and I'm hiding behind something and I want to see more of the environment around me. I would have to be in third person to be able to see like enemies off to the side or behind me. First person's a little bit limiting in terms of your view. So I'm not sure how that's going to work. The combat, obviously, first-person combat. We saw it in Avowed. We saw it in Elder Scrolls, Skyrim, Oblivion. We see it in Starfield. So, standard stuff there, punching, kicking, shooting, using the whip. They showed some traversal mechanics with the whip, and I think it's really cool when you're in first person and you use the whip to latch onto a ledge, and then as you swing, it switches to third person, and as you land, it's back to first person. So I get the idea of differentiating the game and not just being another third-person action-adventure game. But Microsoft and Xbox doesn't have that third-person action-adventure game with a hero that identifies with Xbox, like Aloy, like Jin Sakai, like Nathan Drake. And I still feel like they need that. Can we get just one? But I thought this was the standout. Now, there's the whole, we're making the game for modern audiences, and I'm not touching that. I'm going to wait for the game to come out. If I don't like it because of that stuff, I won't play it. But I'm going to wait. I'm going to see. I think what they showed looked really good. It was the most polished looking game that they showed at the developer Direct. Thanks, Nintendo. Everybody wants to do Direct to you now. But it was strange to me that Hellblade wasn't this stellar standout game for me. And I do worry that it's just going to be more of the original game. And if you're slapping a number 2 on something, you've got to make it bigger, better, and bolder. And the gameplay has to be more fleshed out. And maybe it is. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm going to wait and see. But I'm being cautiously optimistic about Hellblade 2, and I didn't think that would be the game that I was cautiously optimistic about. Avowed, I'm sort of 50-50 on. Hopefully they polish it up a bit. There were a lot of rough animations. The lip syncing kind of looked a little bit weird. I saw some people talking about it looking like a VR game that was started in VR, and then they said, "The hell with VR. Let's just make it a traditional game." And I could see that. I'm not trying to beat up Xbox here, but I could definitely see that take. When you think about that and you watch the trailer again, it does look like a VR game in the way that it's moving. When you switch weapons, there's no real animation to switch. It's just pop, pop, like you see in VR games. I was doing that in Call of the Wild, I think it is, on PSVR 2, the Horizon Call of the Wild game. So all in all, I thought it was a good show. I'm surprised that Hellblade isn't my game. Coming out of the show, Indiana Jones is. I forget what it's called, the Circle of something, or the Circle, I don't know. So yeah, that's it. Indiana Jones, Avowed, and then Hellblade 2. Let me know what you think about that ranking order. I think Indiana Jones was the standout. I'm more excited to play that and see what it's about. Avowed, Typical Obsidian RPG. Hopefully it's good. Listen, it looks fine. I'm going to play it. Hopefully I enjoy it. But I do think Indie was the standout. I think Avowed was the second biggest standout for me. And Hellblade 2 being number 3 has me a bit worried. Maybe my expectations were wrong. Maybe they were set by fanatics on social media. I'm not immune to that. I try to be, but sometimes I get caught up in the whole hype around certain games, and maybe that's just a me problem. But let me know what you think about the Developer Direct. Let me know what you think about my ranking. I have Indiana Jones first, I have Avowed second, and I have Hellblade 2 third. The PC strategy game doesn't register to me. Never going to play games on a PC, and I don't like strategy games. So that's it. I thought it was good. I'm excited about the games, and March is kind of close, so you have Hellblade 2 in March, and hopefully they can get some more of these games that are not announced out coming in a steadier pace. And I was pleasantly surprised by what I saw. I'm interested in the things I talked about. And I think that with a little bit more polish, Avowed is going to be a really good game. I think Indie is probably going to be really good because they have to make sure that's good. It's a huge property. I think it's smart to set it between the first film and the third film. Stay away from that Disney crap. But let me know what you think in the comment section below. Did you like the show? What do you think of my ranking? Thanks for watching the video. Think about liking and subscribing, and I'll see you in the next video.